This video will cover the first episode of Hannibal, the NBC series that ran from 2013 to 2015. I've seen the first episode more times than I can count, and as much as I enjoy rewatching the series, it's the first meeting of FBI analyst Will Graham and Dr. Hannibal Lecter that I keep wanting to come back to and talk about. Will is introduced to us as a killer, a vicious and thoughtful assassin who is both expert planner and lethal distributor of extreme violence. We quickly realize that he is, in fact, a special agent of the FBI, not quite a detective, but a ringer whose empathy for even the most baseless persons is useful to the FBI's behavioral science unit, led by Jack Crawford. Why is Will introduced to us as a killer, narrating his own murders? Because he shows potential to someone, the mysterious figurehead of this television show, who will not appear at least until we know Will some more. In a quick early exchange, we learn that Will took umbrage with Jack's naming of a museum centered on his field of study, the Evil Minds Research Museum. It's not like Will to judge those he attempts to catch. That's not his role. He is what we are introduced to him as, an empathetic and curious person who can temporarily, maybe even permanently, become a killer himself, in service of catching untrackable masterminds. He and Jack approach the case with classic police techniques, or at least classic in the sense that we've seen them before on TV, and we know that they only really exist as a stopgap before the genius star gets to make his breakthrough. Will is asked to enter the field yet again, to investigate a crime scene of a disappeared teenager that could be related to the murder at the start of the episode. Jack wields Will in this way, deploying him at standstills in the case, where reason and logic fail and illogical leaps become the only reason to pursue further. We see Will talking to the family of the latest victim. Their daughter is missing, presumed dead, and Will follows a stray lead. The family cat was missing too. The parents said so. Except, here it is, the cat, poking into the missing girl's bedroom. What's this twist, so illogical? Is the vision of the missing girl, tucked safe in her bed, a vision of Will's? Is he about to imagine killing her, or abducting her, as the real killer did? No. This is the body of the missing girl, returned, inexplicably, randomly, and Will seems to expect it. The cat had come back too, after all. The case progresses, thanks to Will's leaps in logic, and before we meet Hannibal Lecter, we are given an even deeper look into Will's personal life. Adopter of dogs, man of solitude, friend to outcasts. His pack of strays is endearing, obviously, but also a sort of barrier to becoming close to others, allowing Will to live alone and guarded, while still expressing the side of him that needs to help and defend others. These are impulses usually tied to emotions for other people, partners, friends, co-workers, but Will is not close with any one human. His capacity to care is clear, but his ability to receive it back is not. He identifies the mysterious killer as a sensitive psychopath, someone who kills his victims with, to his mind, mercy. Will's understanding of the killer's inner world is something he defends in the face of false assumptions, as Jack makes the mistake of reaching his own conclusions regarding the killer's psychology. Will's understanding is singular, from his mind alone. It's what isolates and justifies him. This makes him interesting to others, and above all, useful to Jack. But we've already covered that. What's important now is that Will's empathy, his understanding, drives him further away from others, as he seems to feel, I guess correctly, that no one else can see what he sees. His impulse is not to judge or recoil in disgust, but to look further, to see, and rescue those who might become victims, just like the dogs he saves from the streets. The victim who was returned was tainted, a fact dug up by the forensic analysts at the FBI. A cancerous liver, and so the killer tossed her back into the lake. Now, with the first mention of cannibalism, we meet Hannibal, introduced as we would expect. Backlit, his elegance foregrounded as he dines on what we can only assume to be a different unlucky victim. Just one with a clean liver. There's an ad break after this, and I can only imagine what viewers in 2013 thought when, as the next scene begins, we see Dr. Lecter, psychiatrist by day, tending to the neuroses of a self-pitying patient. Is this the killer we've been waiting for? Sitting across from someone so clearly unstable and helping him? The Hannibal Lecter of previous adaptations was always sensitive to the problems of others, as long as he had something to gain. But this is something different. Still, we get a flash of his future. One of Mads Mikkelsen's first and best lines of the series as he consoles his patient. If you weren't neurotic, Franklin, you would be something much worse. Something much worse is waiting at the door for Lecter. Jack Crawford, looking for a second opinion on his mysterious killer, and on Will Graham, a tool Jack is still unsure how far he can stretch before he breaks. Hannibal can monitor that for Jack, under the guise of another expert psychological head on the case. The first exchange between Will and Hannibal is so quick, so timed, it might just be missed in favor of the naturally intriguing case this now trio are investigating. Hannibal starts needling Will the moment he opens his mouth about a tasteless act by the local muckraking journalist Freddie Lowndes, which involved sharing crime scene photos taken during the active investigation. "Do you have trouble with taste?" Hannibal asks Will, probing, looking for a way into the inner world of the closed-off logical leaper. "My thoughts are often not tasty," Will says, and Hannibal reciprocates, immediately showing Will that he is like him. And it's here that I should mention that this series is full of camp, ridiculously on-the-nose writing just like this. You either learn to love it for the weighty, thunderous drama, or you hate it because it's not how real people talk. But these are not real people, they're ideas, and these ideas connect to fears and loves, and passions and deeply held desires for connection with others, when it feels like no one could ever really come close to knowing you. I eat this kind of dialogue up. "No effective barriers," Hannibal says, analyzing Will's ease at accessing these untasty thoughts, perhaps connecting them to his skill as a detective. "I build forts," Will replies quickly. He has his dogs, after all. He keeps himself isolated, separate. He can step into others, but no one can get close to him. Associations come quickly, Hannibal assumes, given the speed at which Will has advanced the case. Will replies, "So do forts." This is all Hannibal needs to complete his evaluation. To see that Will is hardly coping with the horrendous murders he analyzes, instead building mental safe spaces that might one day be breached. The camera sinks in on his face as background music swells beneath him. He takes Will's shortcomings to task, using razor-sharp psychological terminology to suggest that Will's escapades into the minds of killers must touch every part of his being, leaving things behind, surely, and perhaps leaving no room for the things he loves. Will bristles, of course, and the game is for the moment up. Jack has been using Hannibal as a tool to sharpen Will, his true prize. Once Will gets wind of this, there is animosity between him and Hannibal. He is, in so many ways, just like Will. His darkest thoughts and desires suppressed, with mental forts designed to keep his civilian and monstrous lives segmented. Is that why he sees his patients? To harvest his own need to extend himself to others in aid, like a muscle that must be exercised in order to keep the whole body functioning. Who was Hannibal eating when we first met him? Now we learn for sure that the girl in the bed was not Lecter's victim, but someone else's. We know because a copycat killing appears, with all the marquee signs of the killer Will and Jack have been chasing. Except we, the audience, know that the copycat is Lecter, because he's dining on her. But why? Why provoke the scrutiny of the FBI? After this montage, we learn the reason. Hannibal shows up to Will's hotel room early in the morning, breakfast and coffee in hand, and tells him that the two will be investigating together today. Jack is busy in court, and the smile on Hannibal's face is beatific. Will seems to assume Hannibal is a student of behavior, not used to field work, but Lecter's smile is just so beaming. He's so excited by the idea of spending the day with Will. To share his breakfast, the food prepared in his home, is to bring Will into his own inner world. Will doesn't know it, of course, but that's Lecter's game. Knowing, being in control, seeing what others are only just beginning to see for themselves, and then moving on before any prince can be lifted. It's the beginning of Hannibal's manipulation of Will, just as Jack's absence was caused by the surge in murders caused by Hannibal's copycat killing. But I can't ignore the tenderness in the morning light, the framing of the two isolated men in the dark blinds of the hotel room, a sort of cocoon from the outside as they share a meal prepared by expert hands. Will thanks Lecter for the food, but rebuffs his offer to socialize like adults, to behave like friends rather than competitors. "I don't find you that interesting," Will says, a clear attempt to push away someone he can't possibly make that judgment for yet, someone he has not had the chance to empathize with. "You will," Hannibal responds. It's a dare, a friendly challenge, Hannibal taking up the ball from where Will spikes it, choosing to run it instead of giving up. In this first episode, the establishing of Hannibal and Will's relationship is dynamic, both a professional exercise from the mind of Jack Crawford, and a cat trying slowly, with all the patience he can muster, to draw a mouse out of hiding and into his side of the world. Maybe the mouse isn't a mouse after all. Hannibal makes a move toward Will in a moment of incredible tension and humor. He gets on Will's side, neatly surmising that Jack Crawford must view Will as a teacup, the finest china to be brought out only on special occasions. Will laughs, recognizing the truth in this, maybe for the first time. "How do you see me?" he asks. Hannibal does not disappoint with his summary. "The mongoose that went under the house when the snake slithered by." It's not apparently clear what Hannibal means by this, and Will barely reacts, but the line is delivered with such force, such weight, that it must mean something. A mongoose is a predator, not a helpless creature. It is shrewd, hiding from the more dangerous predator, the snake, but perhaps it's only biding its time, or else waiting for the snake to clear away before returning to hunt. Will is wise in Hannibal's eyes, but not confrontational. He will not act on what he learns in his voyages into the minds of murderers, at least not in the way that Hannibal wants him to. But could he not be persuaded? Perhaps killing is in Will's nature, just waiting to be awakened by a stronger, more developed predator. They arrive at their first stop of the day, a mill that produced a piece of metal shaving found on the clothes of the first murdered girl. Will notices Hannibal is smiling again, but why? They soon find records of an employee, Garrett Jacob Hobbs, and he has a daughter that fits the profile of the killer's victims. Hobbs left a phone number but no address, and this simple discovery pricks Will's curiosity, just this little bit of police work. Hannibal seizes the moment, stealing away in private to call the Hobbs phone number. We then cut to the original image of the killer's victims, Abigail Hobbs, who will become instrumental to the series. Hannibal is calling to warn Garrett Jacob Hobbs, the copycat signaling the true killer. He only says they know, but those words set in motion a chain of events that will force Will to confront the side of him Hannibal wants to let out, to see if Will has what Hannibal has. Into the Hobbs house as Garrett opens the door, shoving his wife out, her throat already cut. The jig is up, the original killer is found. Will barges in, his pistol ready, his eyes large and unsure. This is real field work, and he's only a teacher, a student of the mind. All his best work is done after the crime has already occurred. Danger is now real, present, and he is the one creating the memory that will be revisited by others who want to determine what exactly Will was thinking when he entered the Hobbs residence. Garrett Jacob Hobbs is in the corner of the kitchen, holding Abigail at knife point, and Will fires just in time to down Hobbs. Nearly gone, Hobbs looks at Will and mutters, "See," like a question, a provocation. Isn't he dying, though? Isn't he the one who's lost? What can he possibly impart to Will at this moment? Hannibal finally steps in to hold Abigail's neck and travels with her to the hospital, his scheme complete. But how could he have predicted Hobbs's final words? Yes, it's the screenwriters, of course, who are making these connections happen, the hands of God tying all loose story threads together. But isn't it also just so perfectly told? So tragic that Will is unable to save one member of the Hobbs family, kills another, and just as he's trying to salvage what he can, offering help to a victim in the most vulnerable, direct way he ever has, the killer turns the blame around. See what it's like to kill me? To be like me? Will shoots Hobbs to save Abigail, but is it possible that the sheer force of taking another's life has ruptured one of his forts? Instead of remembering how he saved Abigail, Will be haunted by the memory of killing her father. The climax of the episode is perfectly fitting with the Hannibal we have known in previous adaptations, someone who is sensitive to rudeness, to personal slights, to stupidity. Hannibal imitates Hobbs so that Will might come to see Hobbs more clearly, pushing a confrontation so that Will is forced to make a choice: kill, or let someone else do it for him. He chooses the former, and this seals Hannibal's interest in Will, while at the same time dooming Will to nightmares and a total reevaluation of his reasons for helping the FBI. As the coda for the climax tells us, Jack has pushed Will too far, and now his perfect teacup has shown it can crack. But just how many cracks will it take to shatter Will? We're left to wonder at the answer, but also at the nature of the game Hannibal has set for Will, as we see Hannibal perched at Abigail's bedside, a new image of family within the three: father, daughter, and murderer. Only which is which? Hannibal's risk has paid off, but he is as much ensnared in this mess as Will, as Jack, as everyone who will come into contact with these three characters. He puts himself into the situation, maybe just to see if he can, flirting with capture to prove he is in control of his fate. Or his brief connection with Will is strong enough that he chooses him specifically to be bonded to, with Abigail as a conduit, a figurehead for the men to obsess over separately, to parent in their own ways, to impose their visions for rehabilitation. She serves a key piece of obfuscation for Hannibal, keeping Will's suspicions at bay through the appearance of a traumatized psyche, the clinician who happened to be at the scene and saved a girl from bleeding to death. It's no wonder he wants to stay by her bedside. Will does not know who Hannibal is yet, but he will. And Hannibal may think he knows Will, or his type, and what he is capable of, but does he really, yet? Am I just asking questions over and over again in this essay and avoiding any real conclusions about the characters? At the start of a relationship, a romantic one especially, questions are all that matter. What will they think of me if they get to know me? Can we be together for a long time? Will they like the things that I like, or come to hate me the more I let them in? Aperitif is a start, the beginning of something greater, and as such it could be the start of anything. The love between Hannibal and Will, as well as the hate, begins here. And yet they're so alike.